Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Velero community meeting. Today is January 25th here on the East Coast of the US, and it's Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. There we go. That's the date. This is the Velero community meeting / open discussion. Welcome, everyone. I am super tired. Thank you all for being here with me today. If you haven't added yourself to the attendee list, please do so, and we'll dig into some status updates, and then we have some discussion topics as well. So first up, we got Daniel.
Since we've cut the branch for release 1.8, this week mainly I'm reviewing PRs. So started merging the change to main branch. Especially the one from you, Dave. I discussed with Bridget. We're gonna go through it together before she leaves. So hang on a little bit, and you'll see some comments to your PR.
Sounds good.
And I'm also working with Eleanor to go through some issue backlogs and to put them into the 1.9 roadmap. That's also a working in progress.
We'll talk about the roadmap a bit in the discussion topic today.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. Any questions, comments for Daniel? All right, Dave.
Yeah, as we know, I've moved over to Cast and Veeam. So I went ahead and updated the maintainers. I put in a PR with the new affiliation in there. I think we need to have a majority vote of the existing maintainer companies to approve that. So Scott and Genting are on there, and Daniel is listed. So Scott's already said yes. So yeah, just two more, and we can go ahead and kick that in. I think if I've got the governance right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just we need a majority vote from the companies. So yes, just one vote from VMware here, and you're good to go. Actually, yes, because right now we have 3 companies listed. So yes, one vote from VMware or one vote from SUSE, and we're good.
Yeah, and also I can't set labels at the moment because I'm not I got kicked out of the org. So I don't think this requires a change log. If someone would set that as a kick it in, that would be good. Or I can write a change log.
I'll change it. I'll add it right now, or yeah.
Thank you. How has your first 2 days been?
Filling out forms. You know how it goes. Yep. Got them to change my ID from David to Dave. So that was a little minor victories.
Awesome. All right. Any questions, comments for Dave? All right. Wenkai.
Yeah, I'm doing some refactoring works. Currently, I'm trying to refactor the pod volume restore controller with CodeBuilder, and hopefully I can submit PR in this week. Yeah, and this is status from me.
Excellent. Any questions, comments for Wenkai? All right. Thank you. Discussion topics. Eleanor, you got a bunch today.
All me. I'm not sure if I'm doing them in the right order, but that happened to be the order I thought of them in. The first one, if you could click on that link, please. Bridget was so helpful and really helped me go. We went through that should be a call out too. Sorry, just remember docs should be a 4th discussion topic. So Bridget and I went through all the docs, which were very helpful. And I did come across this one. So we've already documented the compatibility matrix. Thank you, Jonas. And basically, we can see exactly what versions of Kubernetes we can use with Velero, probably. I believe testing is done on most, if not all, but many. let's say many. But the real question is from a maintainer standpoint, if we find a bug in some version, do we fix it? So the issue is to document that, but I don't think we as a community have decided that. So shall we chat about it now? Is this, I don't really know. I guess that's the question. How does the team want to try to determine this? Is this seen as worthwhile to kind of declare and document? Or maybe it's there and I just didn't realize, which would be even easier.
It's actually not listed here. I thought we had that listed somewhere. That we supported N-3 or so versions. But maybe we just discussed it.
I remember having the discussion a while ago, and I do wonder, maybe we never documented it. How do folks feel? How do you feel about N-X? You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, I thought someone used to propose we support N-1. But yeah, I'm open.
I'm certainly open as well. I mean, I would prefer to have it more conservative because I think I would want to evaluate for further back versions. Like obviously if it's a critical CVE, I think we would support it. We would fix it. If it's anything less than a critical CVE, I'd really want to see how many users are affected because if we fix something that's older, we can't do as much feature work on a new version. So I would love to have it be more flexible. So I wonder if we could have a more conservative. Yeah, that would be my thought.
Yeah, and I think there is a distinction to be made between community, you know, what is supported as part of the open source, and then what's supported as part of, say, Tanzu.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And to me, we're talking about the open source support. Yeah. Yeah.
If we go back, we have N-1 release, so that would be 1.7, which was released in September? October?
I can't remember. September, October, yeah.
Okay, and we're releasing now in February. So we would support 1.8 and 1.7, but nothing before October last year.
Unless it was a critical CVE, I think, something like, or maybe not even, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that would give all Kubernetes versions from 1.12 up to latest. And that's a long span as well.
So
can you hear me first?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My looks like my headset have some problem. Yeah,
oh, no.
I remember we have discussed we support the community version with N-1 back to October last year.
Great. So if you're on board with that as well, then.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll document in the issue right now. I'm going to put it in as N-1 because maybe we discussed it and just did not manage to do this. So we'll document it as N-1. And I'll put it on the Velero channel so anyone can say something for the next week. And if it's approved, then I'll make it as a documentation. Like I'll put it forward. Okay, let me make a comment.
You could send that out to the distribution list as well, just so people can chime in if they have any issues on that GitHub issue. So they could chime in there so we have that documented.
Great. Okay, to post on Slack and send out to distro list for feedback. Okay. May I, even though I didn't update the HackMD, may I segue into documentation? We want to improve our documentation. Yeah, we want to improve our documentation. So do you mind opening up the project, the bot documentation project? And actually, I guess I should put this in HackMD anyway, so apologies. We'll do that at the same time. Yeah, so if you're itching to just help out Velero a little bit, we've got an even easier way to do that. Please ignore the Icebox bits for now. They have, for one reason or another, they need more work. The second column, backload engineering help needed. If you're an engineer and want to give just a little bit of help, please look at those. Those are things that a doc writer alone cannot do. They need some engineering knowledge. So if you can provide whatever engineering knowledge is needed, that would be great. Now, this one I think is a little harder, although maybe it's asking for, some of these are clearer than others about what we're looking for. But if you look through each of them, yes, so usually some amount of testing. For instance, the second one, restic and volume snapshot examples. You might very well be able to give some examples. So feel free to add in. And then the third column, if you are less familiar with Velero or shyer from an engineering point of view, but still want to help out, those are ones that have all the information, engineering information needed, but it would be great if you could find the place in the docs and make a PR. And so we would love help with that as well. And lastly, if you see any other place that you think the docs could be improved, either vaguely or specifically, we'd love to hear about it.
This is excellent.
Great. And this is a perfect segue into my third thing, which is community support more generally. Apologies, I have a 4-year-old who doesn't want to go to bed who is yelling. So sorry if you can hear him in the background. Daddy! And my husband has a bad back right now. Okay, so this was just brainstorming with, I was chatting with Jalen and Daniel this morning. And so this is just our brainstorm. So the goals, we're thinking, what are our goals with regards to community support? One of them is for sure, we want to see Velero users help each other. And we see that some, not as much as I'd love to see. 2 would be to, we want maintainers to kind of think about the amount of community support they want to do, but be a little more thoughtful about, hey, and kind of communicate, hey, this is what I'm going to do, whatever folks can do. 3 is I would love to see documentation be better, because I've been trying to help people in the Kubernetes Slack, and a few things I can figure out through the documentation, but there's a lot of stuff. Some of it I know, and I just don't see it in the docs, and some of it I don't see in the docs and I don't know. So if we can improve the documentation, we might actually get fewer support questions because users can help themselves, and folks like me can help support more. 4, I do want, I thought about, wasn't trying to put this, but I do want Velero users to feel like the Velero team is present. I don't know if it's a good goal that we can help everyone, and I don't think that we should say that. I think that would require a huge amount of support time that we don't have, but I do want them to feel like the Velero team is present in some capacity. And lastly, allow Velero devs to spend most of their time on feature development, not support. I personally think that an engineer's time spent on feature development can help far more users than the same amount of time spent on support. Doesn't mean there should be no support, but that's what I would aim for. So I don't know if we want to stop and talk about the goals first, see if we align on those. Anyways, we kind of thought about some action items, which may, some of them might be controversial, but to address the goals up top. So let me pause. How do folks feel about the goals? Do you want to go right into action items? I see a thumbs up.
Yeah, I think the goals are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I have no.
Good. Yeah, Jonas, especially, I know you think you're very community minded, so I wanted to. Yeah, you represent the community. Others who want to say anything about goals before we get to action items? Okay. So then we got some action items. So here's one that might be controversial, and I'd love to talk about it. Again, it was just first try. Number 1. Yeah. So our thought was, how do we encourage Velero users to help each other, especially on the Velero-users channel? And the thought is, if we're always jumping in, we as like the maintainers or the Velero team are jumping in immediately, then there's less incentive for users to help each other. If we wait some amount of time, perhaps 72 hours, to let users respond to each other, it might actually increase the community of responding, of users helping each other, while somewhat reducing the burden on maintainers. So that's one thing. Number 2, on the other hand, though, it is pretty important to me that really most, if not all, queries get some kind of response. That's where 1 comes in. How soon do we give a response? And the thing that I was thinking about, and this is, I really want your thoughts, it kind of broke it into several different types of questions. So first of all, we want all queries to have some response, but it doesn't mean you solve the problem. It could be, here, look at this doc, or hey, try aim in that direction. That's what I'm saying for number 2. For number 3 of our action items, to me, that there are product and basic feature questions, which I think we should absolutely answer. And if the answers aren't in the docs, then we should get them in the docs. And that's the kind of sort of thing that then ideally I and other less knowledgeable folks could go and answer people's questions because we just point them to the right docs question. On the other hand, we have number 4, which are complex setups with uncommon components, perhaps. To me, we should be like breaking down the individual components. We just saw one recently that talked about, I don't even know how to say it, K3 support and the backup of an MFS mount. I felt like we probably should address those individually in the docs. There was something about like an NAS, I don't know, some storage I'd never heard of. I'm not sure if uncommon stuff we could be held responsible for. And certainly complex setups as a whole, I think that we can try to point folks to the individual documentation, but maybe we're not, we'll do our best, but like, I don't see how we can solve those. And lastly, 5, debugging questions. I think we can try to help users. For sure, we should take a look at it. We can ask them to open support tickets so we could spend more time there. But I worry that debugging questions take a lot of maintainer effort, but may not help that many users at once. And if we focus more of our efforts on these number 3, the product and basic feature usage questions for now to improve the docs, it helps many more people. And lastly, 6 is about figuring out maintainer support. But I will stop there. That was a whole lot of information. Really would love to hear people's thoughts.
The first thing here is 72 hours goes against number 4.
Well, does it have to?
I mean, it does. If I say, hey, I'm wondering, I have a question regarding Velero, let's say Velero's roadmap, and I don't get a reply within 3 days, then the Velero team is not present.
Fair enough.
So I was thinking about that, and I agree with Jonas. I also see Eleanor's point. So I'm thinking, is there a way to, for example, give an automated reply right away that says, community support will be, this time allocated for community support. We'll do our best to, have a maintainer or have a VMware person, right? Because that's kind of what we're saying right now. It's like VMware people respond to it within this time. But then you have to, like, if you make a promise, you have to keep your promise.
Right. And let's be clear, actually, I personally I usually put a little time into the Kubernetes Slack every day. So I actually don't mind responding within 24 hours, but I know that developers, I want to be conscious of what the developers want to. So this could be like shorter for some easier questions, longer for harder questions. But I like Dave's point too. I think that those are all possibilities. And Jonas, I hear what you're saying. If everything takes 3 days, maybe we seem absent.
Yeah.
This is why I want to discuss it. This is why it's a really important thing to talk about.
How about we say no more than 48 hours? But still, I'm a little concerned. I don't think we can guarantee that each of the message in that channel can be replied properly, because when you reply a message, potentially it may become a very long conversation, and the user's expectation is you reply, sooner and sooner.
But you're addressing 2 different things. One is how fast we respond, and that's I think what we're more discussing now. Hi. The other thing I would say is how thorough a response we give, and that's where I'd love to talk more about number 2. I think we should give some response, especially pointing in the right direction, but that thorough, like 100% tech support, I think we cannot maintain. So, sorry, Daniel, first, I would separate the 2, how long it takes us to respond and how thorough our response is.
I think that having a response within 48 hours is good. And then, I mean, we can't. And then have a, I mean, we can't really give a time frame. We'll solve your problem within 72 hours because that doesn't work. But having yes, we'll give you a response within 48 hours. I think that's fair. And then depending on the problem, if it's debugging and things like that, absolutely point them to creating a support ticket, things like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would definitely, for number 5 there, many people will come in, they try to have a conversation, and the conversation will eat your whole day because, it's like, what things should you try? They wander off, they come back, but they expect that this conversation, you're having a conversation. So I think discouraging support conversations is kind of key to the engineering productivity.
I like that point. And I mean, I guess and here's the big, really kind of controversial question beyond that. So Dave, I really like your point about reducing Slack conversations. It'll be more efficient. But I guess my question is, are there some debugging conversations where it's like, oh, wow, if we had put this in the docs, like, is it clear that if we did a little more in the docs, say, then we could avoid it, versus I feel like there are some where they just really don't know how to use maybe Kubernetes, or they're really basic users. And I don't think that we can educate at that level. Is it possible to try to make those calls, like, spend 10 minutes on a debugging and then say, yep, I don't think we can help you at the level you need? I don't know. I'm just wondering if we can do that kind of triage.
I mean, the problem is it's very difficult to spend 10 minutes on debugging with somebody, because what will happen is, they come in, my backups don't work. And then you say, well, did you do this? And then they wander off, and then they come back and they're like, I did this. And, this 10 minutes is spread across the whole day, and it really starts to eat your head. If you're not doing support all day long, if you're doing support all day long, you can handle multiple conversations. But if you're trying to get other things done and these things keep popping out, these little Slacks pop at you and you try to respond to them, it really eats your time. Or worse, is you spend the time concentrated on this one person and you're not helping others.
Just a quick question, by the way, Dave, are you suggesting that a support ticket makes it easier to do this, or do you have the same problem whether it's a support ticket versus Slack?
The support ticket is easier because there isn't the same expectation of conversation. People don't open a support ticket with hello.
Okay, that really makes a big difference. I didn't quite realize it would feel so different. That's great. Sorry, Jonas.
That's my thought.
But that's really, well, I'd love to hear what others think. But.
So I know we talked about this in December to point people towards the community support Q&A. So we did that in the channel topic, and it seems like we have gotten several questions here in the past couple of weeks, but they have gone unanswered. So we need to make sure that if we point to this, which we all agreed to do in December, we need to make sure that we look at this as well, because we have several unanswered things in here, which are great support questions, it looks like. And with details and things like that, maybe we can be a little more specific of what is needed here. And we create a new discussion. I don't know if we could do discussion templates. Because then we could say, hey, we need you to follow these things. I know we had Carlesia did a post about this.
Okay.
That we linked to, where we said, here's what you should provide. But yeah, maybe we could do something like that. Sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, we have been ignoring discussions. I think these months. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking. Okay. It would be easier for the engineers. It will be also easier for us to, it will be easier for us to measure the effort we put into supporting if we, narrow down the channels for supporting. It will be easier to ask them just open an issue. And so that there will be on fewer channel we need to focus. Currently, we have like 3 or 4 Slack channels and Velero issues and then discussion. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about this situation. It will be easier, like we can only guarantee fewer issues like this Slack channel and the issues. And if you really have a severe issue or a question and really need us help, you should go through these issues. Can we, send a message to a community like this? And I think that will offload the burden of the developers a little bit.
Yeah, so you're saying Slack should be then general questions where me, Eleanor, Nancy can go in and answer general questions. And then for any support questions, we'll just point them to this, and then you will monitor this instead of Slack?
I would prefer we only monitor the issues, because I think we are treating the issues pretty seriously. We have a weekly triage meeting for each issue. We discuss each of them and assign them to make sure that will be followed up. So if they have a something needs support, I would suggest they open an issue in Velero directly. As for the questions, I think, or discussions or the Slack channels is more like a platform for Velero users to interact with each other. I mean, the developer can sometimes join the discussion, but I would suggest the issue is the, the channel that we will follow more closely. What do you think?
And I think we should just close this discussion forum because if you're not monitoring it and no one else is, and we see here questions go unanswered for a very long time, then we should just close it and we'll just do issues.
But it's possible that the users can answer some other questions.
They can answer issues too. They can reply in issues too. So if you would rather do issues, let's do issues. Then we'll just close down the discussion.
But for discussions like Nancy open to collect the requirement for 1.9, that's a good example for discussion. That's not an issue.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We can close down the community support forum.
Okay.
So I can just go in here, or well, not I, but someone else.
I'm not sure. It's just my
fault. Someone else can go in and just change these to issues. So a maintainer can go in and say, hey, this is now an issue. And then we can close down the community support Q&A. And then you have issues and we'll send out a message, say, if you have support questions, go to issues.
I'm not sure it's the best way, just my thought. But if I look at this one discussion, like a request for deployment, could you one share the guide doc? I don't know, because shall we just reply? I don't know where it is. Or because that's
this person in particular has asked in a few places. They've also messaged me and I've said, actually Scott replied as well to this person. I think if you don't have it, you just say you don't have it. That's okay. That one, by the way, is more of a product thing. And that's one of those things where ideally we could put something in the docs to point to. Either we have it or we don't, you know what I mean? Like that's something I think I should be able to help respond to once we get something in the docs, even if it's we don't have anything. But in short, just Daniel, I'll say, personally, I'm fine with what I think we can do support in a number of ways. What's most important is we choose something that works for the majority of the folks doing support. So I'm perfectly fine. I'm fine being me, Jonas, and Nancy being the only ones replying on Slack. And we make it clear saying, if you want engineering support, submit an issue. That works for me.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we engineers will ignore the Slack channels. I just find it really difficult to make sure each question be answered properly. That's really a challenge for us.
Well, I would be careful and properly. That's the point I'm making, that to do each question properly, we need a huge amount of support hours, and we don't have that. Properly to me is a couple answers of, take a look at this doc, and if they still say they're confused, I'll say, I'm sorry, the team is stretched really thinly. We unfortunately can't probably give you the level of support you need. Or to go on to Slack and answer, sure, but we won't expect you to.
But then the next step would then be to have a new issue template for support questions.
And dare I say, Jonas, whatever we do decide, I think we should really make sure people feel behind it. So that's maybe all the support folks can have a little chat, because once we switch to a new thing, I think we should stick with it for a while, because I know we've been switching back and forth a few times. And to Jonas's point, we definitely need a new template. Sorry, Jonas, I kind of cut you off there. Apologies.
Yeah, so I think engineer can continue answering questions in Slack channel. I like the 48-hour policy, and for Q&A, I can create, or someone from us can create a template for the issue. So we just focus on the issue tab.
Okay, and then we'll shut down the Q&A and change the instructions in the pinned post. That's probably the other thing. Okay.
And post.
in the Slack channel, we have a pin post saying how you get support, and I suspect it's pointing towards the discussions right now. It should be pretty easy to change. That's a very quick instructions to change when we're ready.
And I think that also had some of the instructions on what should be included in the support question. And I don't think that's been followed here. So having an issue template where it's outlined already, that'll help.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
I updated the thing I have for 48 hours. Sorry, I got distracted. I updated the thing for 48 hours, but yeah, so can someone volunteer to do the issue template?
I can do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can create a basic one. Daniel, if you have anything specific that you would like to see in the issue template, just send it over to me and I'll create a default one.
No, I don't have anything specific, so.
All right, so I think this is a good.
Yeah, just one comment. So with this extra item, do we have any extra item for the external maintainer? Maybe to follow up with them, let them know if, what they can help on this part. Because there no, I mean, like Scott, they're not here.
Just share this link over.
Now that we have a new external maintainer, Dave can give his thoughts. I don't know if it would be helpful. Like you all tell me, this is engineering and I maybe I'm sticking my nose too much into it, but it might be helpful to get a sense of all the external maintainers, how much time they intend to put in each week, or if they're going to focus more on PRs versus community support. This might be a bigger question of what does it mean to be a Velero maintainer, but
it might also be interesting to see if they're actually community members other than maintainers who we could, ask to do stuff. I don't know. I mean, this is something I'm not really good at, but this whole support, users supporting each other. How can we get that organized?
Could you repeat your question? Sorry.
Well, the question is kind of an observation, but how do we? So what we'd like to see a lot of stuff being done by users of Velero who have experience. They can say, "Hey, this is why your backup isn't working," not because they wrote the code, but because they run the product. So I don't know if we've got any successful models under the Tanzu, umbrella. Is anybody else able to get good community engagement, Jonas, for that kind of stuff?
Sorry, my daughter is playing drums next to me and I can't hear it. What was Dave saying?
I was asking if any of the other Tanzu projects, if they are successful getting community people to engage with supporting each other.
The Velero channel had that before. So we used to have more interaction there. So I would like to see that get back. I think we just need to be a little more active as a team, as a maintainer team in there, answering questions and see that the channel is active and not just a lot of unanswered questions. That usually feeds on discussion, and then discussion helps everyone. So I just think if we can start that and then start pointing people for debugging things and like real support questions to issues, and then we can have further discussions. And it would also help if we had more discussions within those channels, especially the Velero dev channel, have more discussions in there.
Okay, I'm thinking, we do shout outs for contributors. How about if we do some shout outs for community members who are helping?
We are actually implementing that starting in February. So we'll have contributor of the month which is not just a code contributor, but also Slack users and people who are helping out within the community. So we're implementing that most likely late February.
Sounds good.
Yep. All right, Eleanor, did you want to go over the roadmap?
I don't really want to go over yet because there's not much of a change. I just wanted to, sorry, maybe we did the shout out last week. I'm so sorry. Anyways, the shout out is we're still going to think about the roadmap, but in short, we're going to really finalize things after Spring Festival because much of the team will be out for that. So say February 13th or so, 14th, we'll start finalizing. So still, if you're curious, it's there, that first link. And just Nancy had asked for feedback, and I saw that Rafa and Sean both posted some thoughts, so we'll definitely take those into account. So if anyone else has anything to add, please do it before February 13th when we will really start to finalize things. That's all.
Anyone else have anything to add?
By the way, I'll just say I put the documentation shout out, which I've been slow to do. I put it second, so it'll be there if anyone looks at the notes. It's second to my list where I talked about it. So, and a link to the Slack conversation, the Slack chat I put in.
Awesome. All right. Any other discussion topics for today? Fantastic. Thank you all. Have a fantastic rest of the week and see you all next week.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.